I don't know what I'm saying, but go ahead.
Hello. Oh. Hello, I am Tara. This is my mom, Jill, who was a single mom for 13 years. Today we are talking about single mom guilt. Apparently this is a big one, and I didn't know how big it was until I had friends that had this issue because mom never had this issue. And so then I was like, well, what do you mean single mom guilt? Well, apparently single mom guilt is a really big thing. Today we're going to address that. Please check out our Dining on a Dime cookbook at livingonadime.com to help you save money on your grocery bill. You can eat better, spend less, and stop all that takeout food that's draining your bank account, which is part of the single mom guilt that we're going to talk about.
And also on our website, we have lots of posts that if you that we talk in detail on a lot of these things more, and you get a lot more information.
All right, so what is single mom guilt? Apparently, single mom guilt is where moms buy their kids toys, or moms will take their kids out to eat, or single moms will put their kids in all these activities because they feel bad because dad's gone, and they're trying to make up for all these bad things that have happened by doing all these things for their kids. They get their kids a cell phone because they're afraid for their kids to walk home from school or anything like that. So let's go ahead and address that a little bit. Let's start with the guilt of buying things, like they're terrified their kids are gonna not be able to walk home from school without a cell phone and things like that. Now, I live in suburbia America. The school is 3 blocks from our house. And I will tell you, 95% of the kids from kindergarten, it's disgusting, from kindergarten all the way up now have cell phones. And I see them looking down on their cell phones, walking home from school every day. And one of the things is, well, what if something happens to my kid and they have a problem walking home from school? Guys, we lived in one of the worst neighborhoods in Wichita. And I mean, it was not a good neighborhood. It really was at the bottom of the list. And I never had a cell phone walking home from school. Never. First of all, if your kids are really in trouble, there's probably someone around who does have a cell phone that would help. But really, it's just an excuse. I mean, it really is. So,
well, you could probably walk them to school and to and from school. If you can do that, what are you worried about? If you're with them, if your kids should be under some sort of supervision, at school or something that's protecting them and taking care of them. And I realize there are some neighborhoods and there's some areas that's, kind of iffy.
But it needs to be really bad, like gang shootings every day type thing. And ours wasn't quite that bad. This was kind of before gang shootings were a big thing, but there was a lot of other things that were going on in our neighborhood. And
sometimes you endanger those kids because the more things they have that are nice, like a nice phone, nice shoes, backpack, shoes,
clothes, whatever,
other kids will steal from them and they can get hurt in those situations. So you need to be really careful. You have to look at both sides when you do this because it could do more damage. Kids with cell phones, sometimes they can start watching things on these cell phones they shouldn't be watching. So it's just not a physical danger, it's an emotional danger. You can cause them to grow up after having seen things on cell phones and stuff that could cause them lots of damage that you're not in control of with those phones at those times. Be really careful about giving them that stuff. But as far as just giving them everything and feeling guilty, first of all,
how did you deal with the guilt, Mother?
I had no guilt whatsoever because first of all, I was taught by a pastor's wife. She said, you feel guilty, it's Satan attacking you all over you. And he can paralyze people with guilt and get you not to function, feel like a low life and that there's nothing. That does not come from God. And I was not going to allow anything like evil like that. I was not going to allow in my life. Whether it's anger, whether it's fear, that you cannot allow that in your life. And guilt falls right into that category. You might as well, you have to accept that and you have to get over that guilt.
I was going to say, you need to just get over it and realize, you know what, sometimes things in life happened. do you think all those moms who were single moms in the Civil War, it's kind of funny, and we might do another video on this, but it's kind of funny. Single moms nowadays act like, oh, I'm a single mom, and you get this whole
They pull out the single mom card.
Single mom card thing. And I get it. I have not been a single mom, but I watched my mom do it, and she was never guilty. Why? Because sometimes things in life just happen, and you just have to suck it up and deal with it.
Well, and I hate to tell you this, and this sounds so harsh, but you're not special.
No.
There are married couples that have horrible handicaps in different areas.
Yeah.
There are all kinds of people that have handicaps. They've lost their jobs. They've got an ill child, and they may be married, but they're dealing with something.
Yeah.
There's not one person on this earth that isn't
Not
dealing with something. And so instead of sitting there feel guilty, and which leads to self-pity and that type of thing, you just have to suck it up, really. You need to suck it up. And so as far as the guilt goes, why do you feel guilty that you don't give your kids all that stuff? Is that what you think is the most important thing your kids need to learn in life and to have in life, is all the stuff and all the things? And you're the one with the problem, because you're so worried what other kids are going to think about them at school. Even though you say, well, I do it for their safety, or because I don't want them to be hurt and upset. You feel, when you were young, you think, well, what if the kids at school? You need to get more self-esteem. You need to get more confidence. And if you have good self-esteem, self-confidence, you got to get down to the root of what the real problem here is. It's not that you're deep down, you don't have enough self-esteem, self-confidence. You're afraid your kids aren't going to love you if you don't give them everything, that their world is, realize what's really going on here. I didn't worry about my kids, whether they got everything. I loved my kids beyond life itself. And I knew that's all it was all they needed, but that in itself would bring them a long way. People told my kids would not ever amount to anything because they came from a divorced home. I didn't think that. Why wouldn't they? I loved them, and they knew their dad loved them, and I never spoke harsh about their dad. So sometimes I think we single moms feel guilty because they know they're doing things wrong to hurt their kids. And you have to just have self-confidence, and not having things was probably the best thing in the world for my children, because as they grew up, if they lost a job, Tara's built a business on it, a successful business on it. My son has done just fine in things that he's had to deal with in his life, because I taught them to be responsible people, strong people, and you can't get that way if you're given everything on a silver platter, and everything. And
you don't realize that things happen. We are so cushy.
Yeah.
With nobody, people have things happen, but as Americans, single moms really have it cushy. I know ones that will have alimony and child support, and they are bringing in $60,000 a year just from that. Sorry, but I don't feel sorry for you. That is a really good income.
Well, yeah, I know lots of couples that don't come near that.
That don't come near that.
And the thing is, what happens is, how do you teach them to deal with life if you give them everything they want, and you try to make their life so comfortable in a bubble-like world?
Yeah.
And no, you can't have that, because sometimes we don't have the money. We're going through a time now where people are losing their jobs, and everybody's saying, oh, the hysteria and the panic, and what are we going to do? We don't have any money. My kids, it's not even an issue with them.
No.
They're not one bit worried about it, because they know how to deal with these things, because from the time they were young, if a crisis came up, if something happened, they would watch me how I dealt with it. I would say, no, we can't afford this right now, because it's either eat supper tonight or buy you a toy. And as far as the guilt goes, with you feel like, well, they're going through such emotional trauma that toy is going to fix it. Okay, you are so wrong if you think that toy is going to fix your child's emotional trauma. That will not fix it. We tend to always want to take physical things, stuff, to fix emotional things.
They got to learn to deal with the emotional.
And you're trying to fix something with the wrong thing. It's like you need to fix emotional problems in emotional ways and teach them how to learn to deal with those emotions and the feelings. It's not going to be fixed with stuff. The same way, if I have a story where it's like the man's crawling across the desert. He's dying of thirst. This is a physical need that he has. And a man walks up to him and said, I'm going to pray for you. And can I help you? I want to cheer you up here. What can I do to cheer you up? The man doesn't need cheering up, and he probably, or anything like that. He needs a glass of water. That's a physical thing. His needs not going to be taken care of till he has a glass of water. Those children's emotions are not going to be taken care of until you deal with the emotions. Part of that is mom loving them. Part of that is mom being there for them constantly at first so that she can help them when they break down. She finds them crying because dad's gone. That's how you deal with it. You don't deal with it by buying toys. Okay, so they go visit dad and dad buys them 1,000 toys. Don't worry about that. Dad's probably not dealing with their emotions. They come home to you.
Kids know the difference.
They know the difference.
They know the difference.
They know the difference. Yeah. And you deal with their emotions. They're going to, when they get older, they're going to know who took care of their emotions, took care of what they really needed, compared to the parent that didn't. And you don't give kids credit. If mom's strong, if she's calm, if she's not feeling guilt, if she has confidence and self-esteem, and she just calmly says, no, we can't buy this, and we go about our merry way, the kids don't think anything about it. It's when you react emotionally to these things, when you feel guilty, when you get angry, when you get all emotional, the kids are reacting to your emotions. So I'm afraid it's all on you, Mom, and you're not going to fix it by buying them more stuff and taking care of that.
And one thing, I know there's going to be moms that will say, well, but my kids say that they want to go live with dad because dad gets them all this stuff. Okay, go let them live with dad.
Do you know how many stories I've heard of where they've gone and lived with dad and they found out
that's not the Santa Claus they thought he was.
Yeah. And so you one step at a time. Don't.
I mean, when we're talking, if he's not abusive, of course, I know we're gonna get that, but if he's not abusive, and the kids are pulling that stunt on you, well, dad gets me this, and dad lets me do that, and dad lets me do this. Then let them go live with dad and see how they like it.
And when they say that to you, don't react to it.
Just say, okay, let me help you pack.
Well, I wouldn't even do that. I just ignore it, or if it's a real serious thing, if you make a big deal out of things all the time, they're going to make a big deal out of things. So, you can't be giving in. You can't be giving in to those emotional. And don't feel guilty because you can't afford to send them to all the football game, stuff that they want to do all the time. Yeah. And, my kids didn't have any of that. Yeah. And they still grew up to be responsible adults. Once again, it goes back to you reacting and when they get older, say, well, if you want to get a job and pay for some of those things. Mm-hmm. When they were in high school, they could do stuff like that if they wanted to, but they would pay for it, when
I paid for all my extra stuff. I paid for all my extra, for my car, for all my insurance. I paid for all the extra clothes stuff that I wanted, anything like that.
And people would always tell me, like I mentioned before, that my kids weren't going to turn out. They were going to have bad marriages. They're going to have everything go wrong in their life. They're not going to be responsible. They're going to do drugs, alcohol. I would not allow them to do that because the Bible says God is a husband and a father to the orphans and the widows. I clung to that. God was going to take care of those things. I don't care what others said. What I lacked in, what I failed in, bottom line was every day it's like, God, you've got to pick up where I fail.
Just pray and ask him to do that.
Yeah, and he did it. He did it time and time again. He would comfort my kids when I couldn't be there to comfort them. It just, you have got to depend on him a little bit more than what you do. We just think we have to depend on ourselves, and you don't have to.
Yeah. All right, please check out our website, livingonadime.com. Hit the subscribe and the notification bell so that you can get more videos